Hi. Yes, sir.
So congratulations on your new book, and sitting in London this time, we can't have a face-to-face.
No, I will be there in October in any case. The book will launch at that time. These are all the pre-interviews. These guys, my publishers make me work very hard.
Right. Great. So let's just start right away. Your new book, this War of Lanka, is it's a well-known story. So how different is your retelling of it, and in what way? So what can readers expect? Some new revelations about the story, or just a new narrative of the same story, essentially?
It is an interpretation. As you would have seen in my first 3 books also of the Ram Chandra series. We follow the structure of the traditional story, but I put in my own interpretations in there, which was there with Ram, Sign of Ikshvaku, Sita, Warrior of Mithila, and Ravan, Enemy of Aryavarta. Also, it may appear different to readers for 2 reasons. One is that, yes, I've added in my own interpretations. Secondly, most modern urban Indians, the version of the Ramayana they have in their mind is actually based on a 1980s television serial. There are many other versions, ancient versions of the Ramayana. So if you even if you interpret something from another ancient version, it would be new to an urban Indian. So, for example, in Ram, Sign of Ikshvaku, I showed a war between Lord Dashrath and Ravan close to the sea at the beginning of the book. That is actually inspired by a war that was shown in the Anand Ramayana, which is a very ancient version of the Ramayana. But most modern Indians won't be aware of it, so they would see it as something different. So you can see War of Lanka as the same way. Some of it will be my interpretation. Some of them will be, interpretations from lesser-known ancient versions of the Ramayana. And hopefully, just like I have received their kind love for the first 3 books of the Ram Chandra series, hopefully they will like War of Lanka too.
Sita has been the first female character that you've devoted the book entirely on. And among the 3 books, I think her portrayal and her story was, for me personally, was evoked more interest than what, the more well-known Ram and Ravan that even people are aware of. So, will Sita's story resume in your 5th book of the series? And
the way to see War of Lanka is, look, the first 3 books I followed a storytelling technique called it's called the multilinear narrative.
Yeah.
There's this Japanese movie called Rashomon. I think I'd spoken about it in my previous interview. Kira Kurosawa. Because stories essentially move on the shoulders of the characters. And if you have 3 principal characters driving a story forward, if you hear their narratives, then you understand what is driving them a lot more deeply. Then therefore you understand the story itself a lot more deeply. So Ram, Sign of Ikshvaku was from the birth of Lord Ram to the kidnapping of Goddess Sita. Sita, Warrior of Mithila, is from her birth to her kidnapping, and Ravan, Enemy of Aryavarta, is from Ravan's birth to the time he kidnaps Goddess Sita. War of Lanka is from this common incident onwards. So War of Lanka is now a common narrative. These 3 were multiple parallel narratives, all ending with the Sita Apharan, with the kidnapping of Goddess Sita. War of Lanka will be a common narrative from her kidnapping to where the traditional Ramayana ends for most Indians, which is the death of Ravan and the return of the royal couple to Ayodhya and the first Diwali being celebrated.
Right. So I was asking you about the 5th book of the series that, of course, you're going to write.
5th book will be so which I should clarify. Then it will not be another narrative. 5th book will be it will be like Uttarkand. It will also be a common narrative.
Okay, that is what I was asking you.
I should have clarified that. 5th book you can see it as like the Uttarkand.
Yeah.
Like the epilogue, right?
Right.
In fact, I have released the title of the 5th book at the end of War of Lanka's manuscript. When you read that title, that itself will tell you what the 5th book is about.
Correct.
But that will take some time. I'm going to release that many years later. I think I need to work on it. But you'll have a sense of conclusion because War of Lanka ends where the traditional Ramayana ends. You'll have a sense of conclusion. Ravan will be killed. Royal couple will be back in Ayodhya.
There have been news reports, and maybe even you have, kind of hinted that the Mahabharata is going to be the next project for you. So, would it be a story based on characters like the Ram Chandra series, or more on issues and conflicts of dharma and the like? I mean,
Matlab, go forward like the Shiva Trilogy, just a traditional narrative.
Yeah.
I think one thing which I'm clear on is this multilinear narrative. It is very complicated, and I think the readers liked it because I think my readers like complex. But लिखने में बहुत difficult होता है. So I don't think I'm gonna do this multilinear narrative again. So I'll probably just follow a traditional narrative, like how a Shiva trilogy was. So story just going forward.
Okay.
I don't know if it will be the Mahabharata or it will be. There's another story idea I have in mind, set in the modern day in London. I might take that up too. Let me see where life takes me.
Okay. And you obviously will not disclose what that story idea is. Or
No, obviously.
in this age of intolerance and cancel culture, have you ever feared any sort of backlash in your books which interpret epics and mythology in a completely different way, humanizing gods instead of superhumanizing them as what people are accustomed to, especially, as we see the mere thought and the mere mention of religion just kind of inciting so much. So any trepidation, any hesitancy on your part to your creative freedom?
You've interacted with me before, Ivinder. I have been in this field for 12 years now. 9 books have been published. The 10th book is about to be published. They're not really secrets. I mean, they've sold some 6 million copies together. I was told by my publishers that apparently Shiva Trilogy is the fastest selling ever. Ram Chandra series is the second fastest selling ever. I'm giving all this background to prove that actually it's not really a secret. Have you ever heard anything around me? Any controversy on religious?
Exactly.
Almost none.
Yes.
So, and I've been in it for 12 years and my books aren't really a secret. So actually my learning is that Indians are open to different interpretations as long as you write them with respect. And I think with my books, at least I would think that even those who don't like my books, I think at least one thing is very obvious. I've written them with respect. I genuinely worship the gods and goddesses I write on. I'm very proud of our culture. That doesn't mean I hate any other culture. But I'm a very proud Indian. I'm a very proud Hindu. I don't. I've held that from my first book from 2010. And I think at least people can see that even if it's a different interpretation, it's been written with respect. So if you do it that way, then there is no reason for any controversy. I think Indians can see that, if you write with respect. And if you think about it, Bahubali, there's a scene where, the hero breaks the base of a shivling and then lifts it up on his shoulder, and then carries it to a waterfall, places it under a waterfall. Now, if you read this in a script, many who don't know Indian culture would say, "Arey, this was huge controversy." But actually, it was one of the most powerful and most popular scenes because it was a scene of such devotion, right? Because it's not about the action. You could make out the characters doing it with utter devotion to Lord Shiva, right? And I think Indians can see that. So if you, and this is true of, I think, all religions. I can speak as a Hindu, but I think the way all religions are approached in India, as long as you do it with respect, I think people are willing to see different interpretations. At least that's the way I see. And proof of the pudding is in the eating. I've had no controversy.
Yeah. I mean, that was 10 years ago when the first series came out in 2010, when your first book released.
But
now,
even the Ram Chandra series has been around. Ram Chandra series themselves, they've sold some 2.5 million copies.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're the second fastest selling ever.
Correct.
No controversies at all.
Yeah. So you think just that, the fact that you kind of, as you said, you write with respect, you interpret with respect. So that alone sails your books through, or
I think partly that, partly also, to be honest, that I don't mean it as any, disrespect to the media, but you also know often artists themselves create controversies sadly, with the help of their friends in the media, because it's an easy way to market. To be honest, let's be honest, we know what happens. If you yourself avoid controversy, as I do, then it doesn't happen. A clear guideline for my publishers. I have a new publisher now that I genuinely worship the gods and goddesses I write on. So we will always market with respect. And I'd much rather the book doesn't sell rather than sell through controversy.
Right.
So even that second part, to be honest, controversies are created also, to be honest.
Absolutely.
It's a very cheap marketing tool. It's harder work to sell without controversy, because you don't get easy publicity.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But I genuinely believe if you actually want to have an impact, then you should want to stay away from controversy, because then people listen to you with an open mind. Moment you become a controversial figure, then you're classified on one side or the other. People don't listen to you with an open mind, then you don't have an impact. What's the point? Then you're only making money, you're not having an impact. If paisa hi banana hai to banker ban jao. That's also, you can make good money from there. I used to make good money from banking also. You don't have to be an author or an artist to make money.
Right.
People who are artists, they're not in it just to make money. Money is a happy byproduct. For us, it's a voice of our soul, and we are hoping to have an impact. We try our best. We may fail, but for artists, that's what gives us the bigger high, right? That we are having an impact. We're making people think about something. That's what has a bigger impact on our souls and our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll not have an impact if you're a controversial person. At least I think. People stop listening to you with an open mind.
Okay. So, author and now diplomat for a few years, and now film producer. So, does the author still reign supreme, or how are you taking on your new roles?
What reigns supreme always is that I'm a Shiv Bhakt and I love my family. That is what is at supreme. But below that, yes, author is number two. Author is always ahead of everything else. I like different experiences. As an author, you want to have rich experiences, because I think that makes your writing richer. You want to meet different people. This is the first time I've lived outside India. I've traveled a great deal, but I've always been an India boy.
Right.
This is the first time I'm living outside India, in London, and I think I have. I thought I'm a very well-read person, well-traveled person, but in many ways I've learned so many things in the last 2.5 years, which I think has made me a better person, and will hopefully make me a better author as well. You want different experiences, enriches you.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you about your film venture. So you're now producing a film on Suheldev, with Ram Charan being considered for the titular role, and a web series is being made by Shekhar Kapoor on the Shiva Trilogy. So what else is in the works in the audiovisual space?
Yeah, I should clarify that yes, Suheldev, it is. We have my own company, Immortal Studios, and two partners, Vakau Films and Pranav Chaturvedi. We've kind of put this team together. We are working with Viacom as the studio partner. I should clarify that I had read, I'm a huge fan of Ram Charan, especially after RRR. I thought he rocked. And in fact, I was a fan of his from his Magadhira days. So I've been a fan of his from many years earlier, before he burst into the Hindi movie scene as well.
Right.
But no, that it's not that there is any. I don't think anything. It would be more the producers who should say that, but I don't think it's been closed with Ram Charan as yet. So let's see what happens. But I will clarify once again. I'm a huge fan of this.
Right.
And as far as and the Suheldev is at the script has been finalized now. So only now we've started working to finalize a director and an actor. And as I said, we're working with Viacom on.
Right.
The Shiva Trilogy, the scripting has started right now. The brilliant Shekhar Kapoor is helming the project, and that's where it's at right now. The scripting has started. And at the end, you asked me, is there anything more in audiovisual? Reya, these two themselves are very, very massive projects.
Yeah.
I don't think one will have the capacity to do more. Not on movies, but if you by audiovisual, you mean documentaries? Yes, loads of stuff has been happening. You may have seen a documentary that I just shot for Discovery TV.
Yes.
Called Legends of the Ramayana, which they released a few months back on Discovery app. I've been told by them that apparently it was one of the biggest hits ever of their India-produced programs. So in fact, we've started work on some other documentaries with them. We're exploring that too. And this is a new avenue. I never thought I'd be doing this, but it's good fun actually.
Right.
Being in front of camera, speaking of things which I love, traveling to places that I would have loved to go to and actually getting paid for it. So it's a nice gig. There'll be another documentary of mine also coming out by September. There's India at 75, but I think it's best if it gets announced when it does.
So having said that, are you constantly a part of the screenwriting process when your work is getting translated on screen so as to maintain the originality of the work?
Yes, I am involved, but I should clarify that I'm not writing it. It's best if someone who's an expert at adaptation writes it. I am involved, I supervise, I review the scripts, but no, I'm not writing.
Okay. But
I'm busy writing my own books.
Okay. All right. But which medium do you prefer? You said that web series, give the time to the script to be, translated in detail. So as a writer, which medium do you prefer? Is it the web series or is it the films?
You've clearly done your research, Reya. Look, it's like this. Web series, you're right. It gives you the luxury of time. So you can build characters. In a movie, 2 घंटे में आप क्या build करोगे? There isn't that much time. So yes, as a novelist, one would obviously prefer web series, a lot more. Writing web series is closer to the art of novel writing. Writing a movie script is, in my opinion, a different set of skills, and often novelists aren't good at that, and which is why often film script writers are not that good at web series writing, because it's a different set of skills actually. I would personally enjoy, writing a web series much more, obviously, because it's closer to novel writing. Having said that, there are some stories which are perfectly made for a movie itself, because that's the structure of the story, right? You don't need to spend too much time developing a character. You just need to kind of blow people away for those 2 hours.
Right.
Like an RRR or a KGF. They're not web series material. They are movies.
Yes.
And there is a web series can never shock and awe, unlike a movie. On that big screen, like watching KGF on the big screen, it just awes you, right?
Yes.
वो TV screen में वो impact आता ही नहीं.
Yeah.
So there's a plus and minus of all of different media. So there's of course a massive plus of a movie. It's just that I might not have the skills to write a movie script, because I am closer to a novel writing person.
All right.
And I would have skills that are better at writing novels, which is closer to web series writing.
True. So keeping in mind the times we live in, a transition for you to the visual medium was a natural step. But you think that it was a little delayed, or you could have done something for the visual medium earlier?
Yeah, I mean, the way I've seen it is things always happen when they are meant to happen. So it's not for want of trying. There was a deal done with my friend Karan Johar. And unfortunately, for various reasons, it didn't work out. We continued to remain friends, but but then the rights came back to me. There was a discussion for a documentary thing even 4 years ago. And for various reasons, it didn't work out. And then this Ram Chandra series thing with Discovery TV did work out. We've released it also. So I guess things happen when they're meant to happen. Yeah, that's the way I see. I'm 47 years old now. I have learned enough of life to see that nothing ever goes according to plan.
Right.
You should try different things, but it works out when it's meant to work out.
Very true. But is your experiment with the Writers Centre that you did with Suheldev, that is likely to continue with your other works as well?
Yes. In fact, and you'll see more works on that coming out soon as well. There are other subjects that are also in the works.
So you might be aware of how Bollywood films have often not worked out in the superhero genre. And we have very few experiments in that genre as well, like Koi Mil Gaya, Crash. So now that, I mean, clearly your books are not in the superhero genre. And but now that your films are being made on Suheldev and Shiva Trilogy, what do you think should be kept in mind, keeping that the audience's taste has also changed?
Very good question. And because many in the Indian film industry are reevaluating things right now.
Right.
Because, there have been various shocks. So, have audience tastes updated a bit. There's a COVID pandemic. There's so many things that are happening. Look, one of the benefits of my books is, when you make a movie on it, it's a story that has already succeeded. You're not trying something fresh. As books, they've already succeeded. You have a minimum number of, of an audience profile already. There are 6 million readers. It's a story that has worked. If we can render it and adapt it well, then I think there's no reason that it shouldn't succeed. And one of the things that appears to me is that if you get it right, in today's India, there's enough of a market for massive budget movies, as long as the budget shows in the movie itself, rather than spending too much, say, on actors or others. So, something like a movie as massive as Bahubali, RRR, KGF, with the sets, everything is just grand, right? You couldn't have imagined budgets like this even 10, 15 years ago, right? But now the Indian movie market itself is big enough to justify, these budgets. So if we can get that the creative thing right, I think the budgets are there to crack it well. We have a story which has been well accepted already, so it should work in a movie adaptation as well. And ideally, as much of the budget as possible should show on screen. We should spend on sets and special effects, rather than anything else. I think that's what many South Indian movies get right. That is perhaps worth learning, for the Hindi film industry.
Thank you, Amish. Thank you so much for speaking with us.